invisible chains of comfort. You didn't choose most of your habits. They just happened. One swipe, one scroll, one late-night video, one ignored notification, then answered, then anticipated. Tiny decisions that slowly became invisible walls. And now you move inside those walls without realizing you're trapped, not by chains, but by comfort. And that is the most dangerous kind of prison, the one that feels safe. Cal Newport calls it behavioral programming, a system where each distraction is engineered to feel like freedom. But it isn't. Not anymore. Digital minimalism isn't a trend. It's rebellion. It's the quiet resistance of someone who wants their own mind back, unfiltered, undistracted, undiluted. Imagine a man inside a glass prison. He can see the outside world, the trees, the wind, the sky. He sees the way out, but he doesn't move. Not because he's bound, but because he believes he's free. That's what dopamine does when left unchecked. You get used to the cage. You start calling it home. You start mistaking your coping mechanisms for peace. You start believing that scrolling is resting, that the loop is life. And when you try to break out, something inside pulls you back. Something familiar, something warm, something that feels harmless, but isn't. Robert Greene calls this soft control. It doesn't force you, it seduces you. It whispers, it convinces, until you no longer question who's really choosing. It doesn't scream, it hums. A background noise of endless input, until your thoughts no longer feel like your own, until your energy feels scattered, until your direction fades. So I'll ask you, are your habits serving you, or are they slowly erasing you? When was the last time you made a choice that didn't come from impulse? When was the last time you sat still, without reaching, without checking, without running? It's uncomfortable, I know, but maybe that discomfort is your signal. Maybe that discomfort is your beginning. The numbing ritual you call routine. You tell yourself it's discipline. You wake up at the same time, check your phone, scroll for a bit. You get to work, you stay productive. You eat the same food, watch the same videos. You go to bed tired, and you do it all again. But something inside feels hollow, because this isn't discipline. This isn't mastery. This is sedation. A loop so familiar, you stopped questioning it. A rhythm so constant, it numbs you, slowly, quietly. Most men think their routines are systems of control. But what if they're systems of avoidance? What if you're not structuring your life? You're cushioning it. What if every repeated behavior is just a softer way to disappear? You don't feel the cost immediately. There's no warning, no sirens, no collapse. The cost is subtle, existential, a slow erosion of curiosity, of vitality, of direction. You stop asking questions. You stop wondering. You stop feeling. You're not bored. You're dulled. And dullness is more dangerous than pain, because it never alarms you. It just becomes your baseline. Neuroscience explains it clearly. When your brain is exposed to constant dopamine spikes, from apps, food, noise, novelty, your emotional spectrum starts to flatten. The highs become normal. The normals become lows. You need more to feel less. And eventually, nothing feels like anything. You tell yourself you're fine, that it's just routine, that you're functioning. But you know that word. Functioning is just a polite way to say surviving. And you weren't made to survive like this. You were made to burn with something real, something that doesn't flicker with every ping or notification, something that demands your full presence. But presence is incompatible with sedation, and routine, when driven by fear, becomes sedation. So again, ask yourself, are you mastering your days or numbing them? Why dopamine isn't the enemy, but you are not the master. It's easy to blame dopamine, to say that this chemical is ruining your life, to call it the enemy of focus, of peace, of presence. But dopamine isn't the problem. You need it. It's what moves you. It's what drives you to act, to create, to move towards something that matters. The problem is this: you're no longer the one directing it. Cal Newport warns us about this rewiring. When your brain gets used to instant gratification, instant entertainment, instant feedback, instant stimulation, It forgets how to sit with effort. It loses the ability to tolerate silence. Boredom becomes unbearable. Stillness becomes threatening. You weren't born addicted to distraction. You were taught. Taught by design, by platforms that learned how your brain reacts before you ever did. And now, every time you open your phone, you're not reaching for connection. You're reaching for relief. From what? From boredom, from anxiety, from the ache of being still. But here's the deeper truth. According to self-determination theory, one of your deepest psychological needs is autonomy, the sense that your choices are your own. And yet, every time you scroll mindlessly, that autonomy weakens. Not in some dramatic way, not in one moment, but day by day, tap by tap. You lose the ability to say no, not just to your phone, to your urges, your patterns, your compulsions. Until you're no longer living a life, you're executing a program. The detox isn't about punishing yourself. It's not about suffering. It's not about guilt. It's about taking the wheel back, reclaiming the authority you forgot you had over your own nervous system, not to reject pleasure, but to restore direction, to feel the full spectrum again, to choose with clarity where your energy goes. Because dopamine isn't evil, but when left unchecked, when left unclaimed, it will pull you everywhere, except where you actually want to go. You're not addicted to pleasure. You're escaping stillness. Most people don't fear pain. Not really. What they fear is stillness, because stillness doesn't distract. It confronts. It puts you face to face with everything you've buried, every fear, every wound, every fragment of yourself you've ignored for years. And that's why noise feels safer. That's why stimulation is addictive. It's not the pleasure itself you crave. It's the protection it gives you from silence. Jordan Peterson often speaks of the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche, where your power lives, but also your darkness. Stillness is where the shadow rises, and most men run from it. Not because it's unbearable, but because they've never learned to hold it, to sit with it, to listen. When you overstimulate your mind with constant music, videos, scrolling, multitasking, you regress. Emotionally, mentally, you return to a state of dependence, like an infant who can't fall asleep without a toy in his hand or noise in the room. You become someone who needs something, anything, just to exist. And slowly, you forget what it means to be fully here, fully awake, fully alive. But stillness is sacred. Stillness is not the absence of life. It is the place where life begins to speak. It's not silence that scares you. It's the realization that in silence, there are no excuses left, no distractions, just you, as you are, with nothing to prove and everything to remember. This is where masculine identity is reforged, not through noise, not through constant action, but in the quiet battle with yourself, in the room where no one sees you, in the space where you stop performing and start becoming. You think you're addicted to pleasure, but what you're really running from is the truth that waits in the quiet. A 3-minute ritual that interrupts the habit loop. Change doesn't begin with a revolution. It begins with a pause, a small interruption in the noise, a moment where you stop running, not forever, just long enough to feel yourself again. 3 minutes. No screens, no sound, no input, just presence. It doesn't seem like much, but in a world addicted to stimulation, 3 minutes of silence is a radical act. This is what I call the dopamine fast window, a daily ritual, not a technique, not a hack, a ritual, sacred, slow, symbolic. You sit with yourself, without reaching for anything, without fixing, without numbing, just sit. What happens in those 3 minutes isn't measurable, but it's powerful. You begin to notice the tremors beneath your stillness, the urges, the thoughts, the discomfort. You begin to see the cravings for what they are, echoes of unconscious patterns, not commands, not truth, just echoes. This is how attention is rewired, not by force, but by ritual, by teaching your nervous system that it's safe to be still. That clarity can arise without noise, that you are more than your impulses. High performers across disciplines have their own versions of this. They call it different things. mental reset, boredom space, clarity break. But the pattern is the same. They make space for nothingness. And in that space, something returns. Clarity, patience, power. You don't need to change your entire life in a day. You just need to claim 3 minutes of it. 3 minutes to remember that your attention is yours. That presence is possible. That silence is not a void, but a doorway. The myth of freedom without friction. We were told that freedom means doing what you want, when you want. That comfort equals happiness. That ease is the goal. But that kind of freedom, the one without effort, without boundaries, without friction, is an illusion. Cal Newport reminds us, depth is rebellion, and most people are too overstimulated to rebel, too distracted to notice what they've given up. Depth requires resistance. Presence requires pain, not the pain of punishment, but the pain of awareness, the ache of becoming conscious in a world designed to keep you asleep. You think you're free because no one tells you what to do, but your thoughts are no longer yours. They're fed by algorithms, shaped by metrics, directed by systems that don't care who you become, only that you keep clicking. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And most thoughts today are tinted by noise, by speed, by fear. So what color is your soul becoming? You're not addicted to your phone. You're addicted to what it saves you from. Yourself, your silence, your pain, your truth. But you can stop running. Even now, in this moment, you can feel it. That part of you that's still intact, still whole, still waiting. So I leave you with this. What would your life look like if you stopped running?